Trump says he wants to eliminate taxes, but he said this 9 years ago. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that this is the year of the feast. I want you to think about the word. This is the year of the feast. I'm going to break down the facts, figures, numbers, logic, and how you can navigate through this, but you have to pay attention. You have to wake up. You have to get out of the hype to get rich quick. You need to build systems, processes, structure, and discipline, and understand how this wave of energy actually works. The last 200 years, there's been over 30 major market collapses, and the next 4 to 5 years will be no different. It moves from the discipline to the undisciplined. That's how money works. There's only interest in the system. You're paying it or you're earning it. So on this channel, we're going to teach you how to build systems, structure, and navigate through the economic changes to beat inflation, low interest rates, and navigate as the tides change. Okay, so I'm going to show you what Trump said 9 years ago, and now he's saying again he's going to eliminate taxes. Well, we'll see what happens, but we can see where they're moving their money and how to position ourselves so our family can prosper through this. This is really important. Head of household, listen to me. Really, really important. Your point of making wealth should not be cars, Lambos, big watches. It should be so you never have to listen to anybody you don't respect, say things you don't want to say just to survive, and have the sovereignty and wealth to have freedom, freedom of choice. You should raise your kids and you should manage your money. Let's dive right in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you guys right here, this is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent talking about 2025 set the stage and 2026 is a feast. Now, the word that he chose, I want you to think about that. This is biblical, guys. You have the 50-year Jubilee, the 7-year Shemitah. When you're in the feast, this is what we teach people. You need to build structure. You need to build a storehouse, getting ready for the next famine. Think of 1920 to 1929, 1010, 2025, when a bunch of influencers got liquidated, a bunch of crypto people got liquidated, people who were over leveraging crypto. As you gain wealth, you need to pull profits and build a storehouse. So let's pay attention.
Categorized 2025. We had some important victories, some important policy announcements, some important movement, but as I've described it, 2025 was setting the table, and especially on the economy, I think the feast and the banquet's going to be in 2026.
The feast and the banquet's going to be in 2026. Now, I do agree with that because I'm going to show you the actual numbers from the feds, how they're turning the printed machine back on. Now, everybody's becoming super bullish on Trump saying he's going to eliminate taxes. Well, this was 9 years ago. I'm excited. I hope he does. You know, we just had our tax meeting just recently, and it's unbelievable how much we pay in taxes. But I'm not going to sit there and bank on them eliminating our debt, not paying our taxes. I'm going to build massive ecosystems and flow. If they eliminate taxes and I have more money in my pocket, I'm going to buy more assets. Okay. But this was 9 years ago. He said the exact same thing.
Low-income Americans will pay no income tax at all. In fact, our plan will remove millions and millions of workers from the income tax roll entirely.
Okay, so that was 9 years ago. Now he's back and he's saying the exact same thing. Let's see if there'll be promises made, promises kept. We can't hold our breath for this, but they are going to start to reduce taxes. We know that. The Big Better Bill is very favorable for businesses. That's going to put more income in our pocket. Remember, income is debt. You need to transmute your income into assets that will beat inflation and be able to navigate these cycles.
That at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay because the money we're taking in is so great, it's so enormous that you're not going to have income tax to pay.
Okay, so that's 9 years later. He's saying the exact same thing. So let's go back in history and let's talk a little bit about what this looks like, right? So he is focused on pre-1913 and Reaganomics. So if we mix those two together, we'll talk about Reaganomics first. So Reaganomics is, Trump is Reaganomics on steroid. Deregulation, which is fantastic for the assets that we hold. Public and private sector coming together, putting tariffs on other country, bringing jobs back into America, okay? Then he's looking at the pre-1913s. Let's break this down. So 1789 to 1862, nearly all of the federal revenue was derived from custom duties. So outside, tariffs outside. 1863 to 1914, approximately half of the federal revenue came from custom duties and half from internal revenue sources, such as excise taxes. Okay, in 1913 and 1915 and forward, as a result of the 16th Amendment making income tax constitutional, the large majority of federal receipts came from internal revenue, internal. Okay, for the first time, customer duties were a relatively minor contributor. So what happened was in 1913, the Federal Reserve was created. It's not Federal nor Reserve. A group of wealthy bankers took over our monetary system. They used the word Federal Reserve so that felt governmental, so you felt protected. They monopolized the banks in 1920 to 1929 when the banks collapsed in 1929, right? Creating a bank monopoly. Since 1913 to 2025, they've collapsed $1.96 to 97%. They called it the American dream. It's the American nightmare. They buried us in debt. Okay. They started basically tariffing us, taxing us, and putting all of our production outside the United States. So now what's happening is Trump is bringing all that back into the United States. Okay. His promise is all this income is going to come in, which is going to help them lower taxes, which is going to put more money in your pocket. And that's amazing. That's fantastic. But here's the problem is we don't have financial literacy. You can keep throwing $1 million at society, Jim Rohn. Give $1 million to every single person. It's only going to enrich the 1%. Here's what's going to happen, guys. Do you really think, like, let's be logical. Do you really think that they're going to re-educate, which they're not doing? The schooling system's not changing. They're not educating the children on how wealth is built. They're not educating the children on money supply. Okay. So if we don't know what money supply is we don't understand reports like this on the Federal Reserve website, then how the hell is the country going to get out of this? Yes, we'll have more money in our pocket, but we're going to monetize more debt. So what's going to happen is he's going to lower interest rates. He's going to put a bunch of money into our pockets through taxes, whether it's stimulus checks, whatever it is. But people are going to buy flat screen TVs. They're going to buy technology. AI companies are going to become wealthier. Amazon's going to become wealthier. Elon's going to become wealthier. All the people at his inauguration are become much wealthier. Now, here's the beautiful part about that is you have opportunity. The American dream is amazing. You can complain about it. You can bitch about the rich. You can bitch about the wealthy, or you can get your shit together and you could take advantage of the greatest country in the world and the greatest land of opportunity where you can build a YouTube channel. You can build an education service. I built a financial firm. I went out there and took advantage of these things, and I'm using the tax laws to my advantage. Things like the Augusta rule. That's why I live in this home now based on Augusta. I just did a short-term rental, which is using the short-term depreciation. I just invested in a farm in Florida for a 506c, which is giving me depreciation off of that investment. The tax rules, if you use them correctly, are designed to put money into the economy. I'm not for taxes, but there are ways where you can become an entrepreneur and mitigate some taxes. So this is really important. So he says he's going to eliminate taxes. He did say that 9 years ago. He is doing the pre-1913, which we tariff other countries and we bring the money back into our economy. And now here's the facts, figures, numbers, logic, which I showed you guys, is they are increasing money supply. Okay. So the important part to understand is that the money supply is increasing. Okay, it's coming back into the economy, but that is devaluing your currency. You see currency and supply? I think that's billions, right? Millions of dollars. So that'd be $69 billion was injected. $7 billion on December 17th. In 1 week, they did $69 billion, and we'll see what it looks like as we take a look at this report next week. All right, so let's check this out. So what's happening? This is what's happening. I'm going to educate you guys on this, is navigating the boom of trend of tokenization. So what's happening is they're pulling all of this liquidity up into stable coins. This is the growth. Look at Franklin Templeton. I mean, that's a massive company, guys. They have now the Xrp ETF, right? They're pulling stable coins. Okay, let me just read it to you. The true value proposition of tokenized T-bills lies in the transferability, interoperability, providing holders with unique utilities and automation beyond the scope of traditional forms. This encompasses the capacity for peer-to-peer transfers outside the central bank with eligible counterparties trading across diverse platforms, utilizing them as collateral for borrowing, staking, and earning additional yields. So they're sucking everything up into stable coins, and this is the next wave right here for companies on the S&P. So 102 billion Robinhood said they are considering buying Bitcoin for their treasury. Let's listen in.
Cryptocurrency related products and revenue have been an important part of Robinhood's growth story. What are your thoughts on adopting Bitcoin or other digital assets as part of your corporate treasury strategy?
Shiv, what do you think about that one?
So we spent a lot of time thinking about this. We like alignment with the community. We are a big player in crypto. We want to keep doing it. We like that our customers are engaged in it. What we always try to figure out is it the right thing for shareholders as well? If you put it on your balance sheet, it has the positives and that you're aligned with the community, but it does take up capital. Our shareholders can also go and buy Bitcoin directly on Robinhood. And so are we making that decision for them? And is it the best use of our capital? There's a lot of different things you're doing, from new products for growth, investing in engineering. So we have this debate constantly. And I think the short answer is we're still thinking about it. There's pros and cons to both of it. And it's one that we're going to keep actively looking at.
Cool. So they're thinking about it, but here's what's actually happening. Here's the pressure, guys. This is the pressure that they're facing. Okay. Look at that. These are the Bitcoin treasury companies, the top 100. Okay. Just the top 100. Remember, in 2020, there was one, Michael Saylor, and he's out by a long shot. Now you got 21 Capital, XXI, which is one of my second stock holdings. Okay. They're in the number 3 spot. Their goal is to climb. His goal is to climb up to strategies level. That's going to take a big jump. You got Trump Media Group at number 11 with 11,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and American Bitcoin, which is my number 1 on the stock side, ABTC. So my number 1 stock holding is ABTC. My number 2 is XXI. So think about that. This is the pressure that Robinhood has on them. These are all the companies that are building Bitcoin treasuries. And why would they be doing that? I think this is important for us to understand. Why would they be building Bitcoin treasuries right now? And I'm not saying you have to go out and buy Bitcoin. I'm not saying you have to go out and buy XRP. What I'm teaching you, if you don't trust the cryptocurrency, gold, silver, real estate, find your zone of competency. My zone of competency is digital assets. I came from the banking sector. I'm also deep in the spiritual sector in regards to understanding economic cycles. The age of Aquarius, things are transferring. We're in the great mutation of 2026. Okay, that's a really important part. So I'm not going to get on here and argue with people or debate people. I understand at a very deep level, from my personal level to a macroeconomic level to a world level, we are going through a dramatic change. So when you think about going through a dramatic change, do you really think that the old legacy systems are going to be here in 2030? Here's how I rationalize that. From 2006, I think you guys can correct me on this. I don't know the exact dates, but 2006, I think we had Facebook was coming on board. We still had flip phones. And in 18 years, look how much things have changed. Look how dramatically in 2020 to 2025, things have changed dramatically because of the pandemic. So what took 18 years is now going to take 3 years. In 3 years, what took 3 years is going to take 3 months. That's really important to understand. Our children are the heirs of this new wealth being transferred down from the baby boomers. Do you really think they're going to be using cash in the next 15 to 20 years? No. Cash will be eliminated, completely eliminated. Okay. The centralized systems are being fragmented. That's what the great mutation is. This is really important. The systems are being fragmented. The healthcare systems are being fragmented to internal health outside of external health. Everything's being inverted. The traditional financial systems have to come on board with the DeFi platforms. Okay. They are going to come on to new legacy systems because you and I can interact with each other on a stablecoin outside of the traditional systems. That's really important to understand. Okay. So when you start to think about that stuff, that's how you can logically think about your investments. And that's why I created my system called Capital DR. So Capital DR is not an investment. It is a system where you can plug in based on your zone of competency the things that make sense to you. Okay. So C is cash flow. You need cash flow. Cash is absolute trash. I do it through personal income and cash generating ETFs. So I take my first fruits, my income, which is debt, and I put 10% into ETFs, which creates more income. So every single time I get paid, I get a raise. Every single time my bank money hits my bank account, I get a raise. Every single day I'm dollar cost averaging into XRP and Bitcoin. And every single time the assets come down, I buy more. Okay. So I create cash flow. My cash flow outside of debts and non-negotiables goes into appreciation. I use deflationary investments in my zone of competency. I love XRP and Bitcoin. They're deflationary by nature. I'm I believe in them. I understand them, and I'm going to continue to invest in them. My top holdings are XRP, Bitcoin, Solana, WLFI, HBAR, XLM, and VeChain. I have many others that I'm going to consolidate into the top 4, okay, which would be XRP, Bitcoin, WLFI, and Solana. On my stock side, I have XXI. American Bitcoin's number 1. XXI is number 2. I'm going to continue to increase those. And as the landscape changes, as we go through bull and bear markets, remember, this is the feast. We're going to go into famine. So when we're feasting, very important what he said, see how it's going up on the appreciation side. When we're feasting, I'm pulling profits at targets on the way up because you're going to get greedy. Everybody gets greedy and the feast is going to be taken away. So I pull food off the table and boom, I put it into protection, cash value life insurance. They need to be funded properly. They need to be structured properly. You need to put money in them. They're cash value life insurance. They're not retirement policies. They're not magic money machines. They have cost of insurance. The first 7 years, it takes every 7 years at 10% money compounds. Okay. So the first 7 years with cost of insurance, if you're not properly funding these and putting money into them, they're like driving a Pinto. But if you want to drive a Lamborghini, you need to put money into these. They need cash in them. And then we use them as family banks, which is L, which would be leverage. Okay. So when the markets come collapsing down, we're able to go back in. Okay. We borrow from the bank, our family bank, at low interest rate, no liquidation risk. And we go back into cash flow, appreciating assets because the market cycles, there'll be feast and famine. When the feast comes, we pull profits from the feast. We de-risk out and we put it back into protection. Do you see? That's a system. That's not hype. It's not hopium. It's not price predictions. It's not waiting for a savior. It's the richest man in Babylon, the wisdom of King Solomon. You are not going to outwork discipline. Okay. There's no cryptocurrency that's going to save you. It's discipline and consistency. Those are your 2 best friends. You should be disciplined physically, financially, and spiritually. That's the key. So the rhetorical question I have for you that I'd love to hear in the comments, what is your system? Like, honestly, what is your system? And if you don't have that answer, you need to build one. You need to create a budget. You need to know what's going in, you know what's going out. I would create a dollar cost average system where you're constantly building wealth for your family. And then you stick with it. You don't waste for price predictions. You don't wait for hype. You don't wait for hopium. You don't wait for the next best crypto. The next influencer bringing out the next best crypto is not going to help you win. I promise you, you're going to get liquidated. They don't have the next best thing. There's not the next best crypto coming out, the next best project. Learn Warren Buffett style, learn how to read balance sheets, learn how to, Intelligent Investor, just read that book. And I'll just leave it there. I'll let Benjamin Graham do the talking. So I love you guys with all my heart. I want to just in my pajamas right now. I'm doing this real quick. I'm going to catch a flight in a couple hours here. But I love you guys. I really appreciate you. I would love to have you in part of our ecosystems. The 3T as in Tom, warrioracademy.com, or in the description of my video down below. We've helped 14,000 people understand how to do capital DR, a revolutionary system. Click the link in my bio. You can get into my ecosystem. You can coach with our team. We're educators. We are not investing people's money. We empower you. In my paradigm, in the divine masculine, nobody raises my kids and nobody manages my money. That is my responsibility as the head of household. I manage my own money. I hit my buttons. I take responsibility for my decisions. I take responsibility for my kids' education and their spiritual walk. And that's what we're supposed to do as the head of the household. My opinion, actually, it's not my opinion. It's what should happen. I love you guys. I appreciate you. As we always say, warriors.